So we're going to test the Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone and the original Green Double-Time Flattening Stone on 1,000 grit water stones. What's the difference? What's the difference between pink aluminum oxide and green silicon carbide?
When it comes to the properties of the materials, the green silicon carbide is going to be a harder and sharper abrasive compared to the aluminum oxide. In this case, the pink aluminum oxide, what we want to test and why we came up with this new stone is this is a tougher, more durable abrasive. So it may break down slower and stay flatter longer. That's the theory.
Okay, so what we're really looking at here is comparing different abrasive materials and their effect on cutting speed, how fast it removes material from a water stone, and wear rate, how fast the flattening stone itself, the double-time flattening stone, will lose its own material.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're flattening 1,000 grit water stones. How are we going to measure them?
So we've got a micrometer, and we're going to test the thickness of the water stones. And we'll test them after each 3-minute session, and that should give us us enough data. Yeah.
But they get then to see how much material they're losing.
Yeah, and then we'll also measure the double-time flattening stones, and yeah, let's just measure the thickness of those, and then we can also see if it develops any uneven wear, which I think really that's the most important part when it comes to
the flat. Does it stay flat?
Yeah, does it stay flat? So that's what we're going to test.
Sounds like a plan. So John, between speed of cutting and wear rate of the flattening stone prediction time, what do you think?
I think they're going to be similar. While the abrasives certainly do have different properties, at this level of coarseness, I think we'll see similar results.
I actually did some testing when we were developing these, and I think the pink is going to be a bit faster at removing material.
Okay.
Wear rate, I think the pink might wear a little more slowly than the green.
So that part makes sense. Faster cutting is unexpected. You have a silly looking stone.
I have a silly looking stone, removed a lot of material from a bunch of water stones, and I just kind of feel like the pink might be a little bit more
And to
aggressive.
be clear, this is not how you flatten a water stone.
No, this is not a real world test. This was very much just a control all the variables that we possibly could to just concentrate on one thing. So I think the testing that we do should be much more realistic, how you would actually use the stone.
That sounds like a great idea.
We're testing how fast our 2 double-time flattening stones flatten a 1,000 grit 8-inch Sharpening Supplies water stone.
We're performing 5 3-minute flattening tests on each of the stones. That gives us 15 minutes of dedicated flattening time on each stone.
We're using a micrometer to measure the thickness of the water stones. We're measuring each stones at 3 different locations.
We're also using the same technique to measure the thickness of our flattening stones.
After each test cycle, we swapped spots. This allows us to remove the human element from the testing variables.
To give us an idea of how much we're flattening, we flattened another water stone separately. When we measured the stone, it had a 0.01 inch low spot. This very out of flat water stone took us 90 seconds to perfectly flatten.
Using that stone as our comparison, our 3-minute test cycles represent flattening 2 very out of flat stones. Or said another way, our tests will represent flattening 10 very out of flat water stones.
3 minutes of flattening feels a lot longer when you're actually doing the flattening. We learned this lesson in real time. The ideas on paper hit different in real life.
In reality, if you stay on top of your flattening probably takes 30 seconds to a minute.
Let's take a look at our results. The original was a little faster. We removed 0.08 inches of material from the 1,000 grit water stones with the original, and then on the pink aluminum oxide, we removed 0.067.
So that'd be roughly 20% faster for the double-time flattening stone over the pink double-time flattening stone?
Yes.
And for comparison, we looked up and found that a sheet of paper is typically 0.004 inches. So the original removed roughly the thickness of about 20 sheets of paper.
Yes. So in 15 minutes, we removed 20 sheets of paper's worth.
Fantastic. Nice term, paper worth.
When we look at the graph of the results, you can see how the removal looks over time. If we add wear to the flattening stones on the same graph, you can see how little both flattening stones are wearing.
We have, I think it was 0.003 inches for the Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone and 0.004 inches for the Double-Time Flattening Stone.
You know, and the curious part about it is that really all of that wear happened between our initial measurement and our first test. I don't really know what that means. They basically stopped wearing after that.
Sure, so there was a high kind of initial loss of material, but then it evened out.
Both the original and the new Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone, both were perfectly flat when we tested them afterwards. So that was a great result.
So what can we say in conclusion?
Well, we do know that this one does work faster. That part we do know. And when we look at our predictions, you actually predicted the Pink to flatten faster.
I did. Yes, I did.
So why did you think that?
Based on some of the testing that I had been doing originally, but as I said, that was not at all real world testing. That was just looking to kind of control everything and do very targeted testing. And I had thought that I was getting a little faster readouts from this. I think we need to look into it more.
With your original testing, you probably were testing both sides. And so
I was.
Do keep in mind that the coarse side are both 120. On the fine side, the Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone is 280 versus the 320 for the original.
That's an excellent point, because I was testing both sides, but I was kind of basing it on the average between that. And in our test right now, we just looked at the coarse side.
Right.
So that's something that needs to be taken into account. But now, you said that they would perform about the same. So
I was also wrong. They feel the same to me. I think if you look at it, it's only because we literally got out a micrometer were we able to see that there was a difference. We saw it as about 20%,
right,
which is more than I expected. So that was an interesting result. Whether that holds over more testing remains to be seen.
Right. And in a blind test, I don't think if I put a blindfold on you and had you use two, I don't think you could tell which one you were working on.
Yes, absolutely. The other piece that we tested is what is the wear rate of these flattening stones? Do they wear while we're flattening a water stone?
Right, and I think we can say that yes, they wear, but the numbers that we had were so close, we can't really draw a firm conclusion on whether one of them is wearing at a faster rate than the other at this time.
Our testing variance is much larger than the actual wear, so we'll hold off on making a confirmation on that.
I think so. I think what we can confirm is that after that testing, we weren't getting dishing or cupping in either one. They were both just as flat as they were at the beginning of the test. So I think we can say that that's a great initial result. They start flat, they stay flat as we use them.
And then really the one key piece that we're trying to test was we're really testing the different abrasives. These stones are basically made in the same way. And really what determines the wear rate of these isn't as much the abrasive as how the stones are made, the binder, the density of the flattening stone. These are not simply coarse water stones. They are dedicated, they're designed for flattening, and so they are harder.
Right, and when a stone loses material, you're not breaking down the abrasive material itself necessarily, you're breaking down the matrix that material is held in. So like you said, what that binder is, how densely it's packed together, how hard it is, all those come into play when you're determining what the wear rate of any given stone is.
And in fact, when we're using these on a water stone, we're not necessarily pulverizing the grit in the water stone as much as we are removing the grit from the binder that it's in.
Right, and I think we can say that these are removing more material from the water stone than they are losing themselves. So they're efficient at flattening the water stones.
Right. The one thing I will say is that I'm very happy to report that both of them stayed flat. That was key.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have a flattening stone that's not flat.
Exactly right, and you're very encouraged with that. I think we've got some good material to work with. So what about the future? Where are we going to go from here?
Well, I think we tested one water stone, and we did one test. So I really think we need to test different grits of water stones to see how these perform. And then also, let's try different types of water stones.
Sure.
Maybe one grit is better for a certain type of water stone than another.
Sure, because you have ceramic process water stones, you've got resin bound water stones, you've got different hardnesses. Maybe we go ahead and start testing all the different wide variety of water stones that Sharpening Supplies carries.
Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. You know, when we do that, we're going to have to test over a long period of time. I mean, this is not something that we're going to do in an afternoon. It's going to be months of work.
No, this is going to be ongoing. We're going to have it'll be a process to kind of see. Be interesting to see what numbers that we get out of that.
Yeah. If you'd like to buy our new Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone, we've included a link in the description. For all this and more, visit us at sharpeningsupplies.com.
Dan and Tom. Dan and Tom. You're Tom. Hi, Tom.
My name is not Tom.
Yes. Not Tom. When we were developing this stone, why did we decide to call it the Pink Double-Time Flattening Stone?
We love to be creative. And
Wanted to go something that wasn't too on the nose, too obvious.
obvious ones, Pink Panther,
Pink styrofoam stone.
Barbie,
yeah.
Barbie Flattening Stone. The lawyers were a little concerned
Yeah.
that those might be...
Legal department had a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
to say about that.
When you put on your big-time businessman pants, you know, these are the tough decisions you have to make.
Given our relative height differences, I wouldn't fit your pants anyway. So I'm really,
How many more pants jokes can we...